We need new fashioned solutions to the problems of the modern day. Because although people they like to invoke old fashioned ideas and old fashioned values as being necessarily the best thing, well, that's just not always the case. And, the old fashioned tried and true methods are good and valuable. There is a lot we can learn from how past generations and past people handled the world and handled problems of human nature. Because there is a lot of value in the tried and true and traditional ways of doing things, because often those traditional ways have stood the test of time, and they have been borne out as having value and working well. But on the other hand, that's not always the case, and there are plenty of old-fashioned ways of doing things, and kind of more uh, traditional ways of doing things that just don't work anymore, or can easily be replaced by something better that we invent here and now. And yeah, and so I think the key thing is to discard what doesn't work and keep what does work, but not be bound to the past simply because, or tradition simply because it is the past or because it is tradition. It's more about what is useful to us and what we think is really the best way to handle things. And yeah, I think we need new fashioned values. We need a new fashioned way of life. We need good new fashioned ideas. We need a good new fashioned society, not the old fashioned. But of course, then the thing is that just because something is new does not mean that it's better. Does not mean that does not mean we should swap out the tried and true way of doing something in favor of the new simply because it is new. Because it is all too easy to, you try to leave things behind, you take the path into the future, but then you take a wrong turn and you make mistakes, and you realize, oh, that actually wasn't progress necessarily. That was just something different, but it turns out it wasn't that good. And that's why we just have to be willing to, take a third path and not get stuck on what we think is the way to progress. But never be afraid to invent new things when the existing things we have simply don't serve our purposes. I've always found people are afraid to invent and change, and we have to change ourselves and invent.